Menaka Mohanaraju. I'm a lecturer in the Department of Physiotherapy, FMHS, University Kota Rahman. I'm also a physiotherapist, and I've been in this field for the past 9 years. And in the last 5 years, I've been attached to Utah as a lecturer teaching undergrad physiotherapy program. So without delaying it further, so let me just introduce the topic of today. Since this webinar is focused and directed to the general population, to the community, so I will try to make this webinar as simple as possible so everyone can understand and probably gain some tips and management on tips and management on how to manage low back pain. So I'd like to begin now. Okay, so before we move on further, let me just mention the contents of today's webinar. So I'm going to talk about common cause of low back pain very briefly. But however, what I will be focusing on is on the mechanical low back pain. And also on why does posture matter, and some informations on the do's and don'ts to prevent low back pain or to reduce low back pain, and some ergonomic advice for those who are working, especially those who are working doing desk job, and for those who are working from home, and also some home exercises. I'll be introducing some very general home exercises for those who are having low back pain. So this webinar is for an hour, so I'll try to finish it and also answer as many questions as possible from the attendees. All right, so what are the common cause of low back pain? Now, this low back pain, it can be divided into 3 categories. Okay, the cause, as in the factor that's affecting low back pain, can be divided into 3 categories, which is the injuries, due to injuries or due to degenerative changes, and also due to neurological issues. Okay, so but what we will be focusing today is mostly on injuries, which is mostly on mechanical low back pain. The reason is because the exercises that I will be introducing later, some of it may not be appropriate for conditions such as degenerative or anyone who's having low back pain due to neurological issues, especially those who are in the acute stage, early stage. So therefore, we will talk about mechanical low back pain mostly. But however, we must understand that the source of low back pain can be due to injuries such as sprains or strains, any injuries to the ligaments or the muscles, and any trauma to the back. Okay, these sprains and strains can derive from overuse injuries such as overuse or straining the muscles too much. For an example, let's say if you're doing your house chores from morning, you've been sweeping, mopping, cleaning the windows, and you do a frequent bending, and at the end of the day you realize that your back muscles feels a little bit tight and it's difficult for you to bend further. You feel pain and uncomfortable, so that is more of like an overuse injuries. So your muscle has gone into a state of spasm and you're having pain and so on. Trauma will be injuries that you sustain from accidents or while you're playing sports. You accidentally injure your low back area, or even falls. Okay, next source will be the degenerative. So the degenerative changes, this one usually takes place in aging population. So those degenerative mainly involves the intervertebral disc degeneration or any sort of arthritis or inflammatory diseases. Okay, so what happens with the intervertebral disc? So we have the spine, we also have disc in between the vertebrae. So over time as we age, our disc will start to worn off. So what happens is it will lose its elasticity, it will lose its ability to absorb shock. So this will be the degenerative changes. So eventually the a healthy disc will eventually become thinner. And other than that, you can also get conditions such as arthritis or inflammatory diseases as you know, as people start aging. Okay, this one is mostly involved with, again, degenerative issues also, but this can happen anywhere in the spine, where the disc may lose its elasticity, sorry, as in the disc will lose its ability to absorb shock, as well as the bones start developing bone spurs. So yeah, so once this kind of condition, once this takes place, sometimes it may start narrowing the area where our spinal nerves exit from the spinal cord, as in the vertebra. So when the area becomes narrows, the spinal nerves doesn't have much space, so it starts pinching on our nerves. So that is why people start getting those radiating burning sensations, sometimes tingling and numbness on the area where the nerve is distributing. So this also can complicate or can go towards or move towards the neurological cause. So following that will be the neurological cause. In neurological cause, as you see, you have conditions like spinal nerve compression, like sciatica. I think most of us would have heard about sciatica, because many have been affected. I mean, it's a very common condition. So sciatica is actually the compression of sciatic nerve at the back that comes through from the buttock towards the back of the leg. So sometimes when there is a compression on this nerve, there will be I mean, the person will eventually experience burning, tingling sensation, and radiating pain from the buttocks towards the back of the leg. So, and then we also have spinal stenosis, where the spinal canal becomes very narrowed, again putting pressure on the spinal cord and nerves. And then you have something called as herniated or ruptured disc. This is something to do with the disc. However, it is not to do with degeneration of the disc. Here, the disc is healthy. However, the fluid from the disc escapes or ruptures out of it and starts irritating the adjacent nerves. So these are the back pains that a person can get. These are the sources of back pain. These are the few sources of the back pain. But however, what we will be talking today is more on a mechanical low back pain. This neurological and degenerative changes can also cause pain similar to mechanical low back pain. However, when it involves neurological, we have to be careful with some of the exercises that we give, especially in the early stage, because some of the exercises that is mentioned today in this webinar can actually cause more pain or provoke the pain. So hence we will focus on mechanical low back pain. And but if you are suffering from low back pain that you suspect it is due to neurological or degenerative changes, you can always see a physiotherapist to get yourself assessed, and of course get an appropriate exercise program. All right, so what is mechanical low back pain that I was talking about? So mechanical low back pain refers to non-specific low back pain. So which means earlier for the degenerative and for the neurological, I've actually mentioned that these are the sources, these are the pathology, this is what happened, and this is what is actually causing the pain. However, in mechanical low back pain, it is actually a non-specific back pain. Usually the source is, there is no any specific source. So what can actually come with a non-specific low back pain is traumatic injury, sprain or strain, or even postural strain. So traumatic injury, I've explained earlier what is it, and sprain and strain also I've mentioned. So postural strain also means that if you are sitting or you're standing, or even you're assuming in an awkward position for a long period of time, your muscles are overworking during this period. So when your muscles are overworking, eventually it will go under a strain, it will go into muscle strain. So this is what we call as postural strain, whereby the muscle strain actually came from a poor posture. Okay, so this is very common for people who, have to work with in a slightly bent position, or even those mechanics in the mechanic shop where they have to go underneath the car or assume in an awkward position. So they are very common. They are the population that who are very common to get this postural strain. So, what are the symptoms of mechanical low back pain? Usually, it is pain, and if it doesn't involve the neurological, as in neurological issues like I mentioned earlier, then the pain should be localized, and then you will get spasm. Spasm is actually our bodies, as in muscles, way of saying that it is injured, so it doesn't permit any more movement. Therefore, it will start to keep itself stiff, and you probably will feel pain and you feel there's restriction in movement. So it's a way of muscle saying that I'm injured and I don't want any further injury. So it is keeping itself rigid, so you will not move further. And then there is also tenderness. Tenderness is something that you will feel pain, but not by just touching, but by applying slight pressure. And then there will be stiffness. Of course, when there is spasm, you'll also experience stiffness along with swelling. So these are the common symptoms of mechanical low back pain. Now, let me go through on the common area of pain. So, what are the common area of pain? Usually is the paraspinal muscles. Okay, so like you can see here on both the side, okay, you can have pain up to the lower back, and then the upper trap over here, you can have spasm. Usually you feel like your neck is a bit stiff, and then when you press you feel a little bit ache, so there is spasm. And then usually this one the spasm and pain over here can come from prolonged bending or sweeping, mopping, or even squatting and doing some work, so you can get spasm or pain over here. And then for this mid back pain, usually it is very, very common in female, because due to the posture that female usually accommodate, which is rounded shoulder. So it's possible, it's very common for female to get pain or spasm on the upper back. Okay, moving on to the next. So let's study some of the risk factors. Okay, so the risk factors for mechanical low back pain, usually it is related to posture, like I mentioned. So sitting or standing or walking for longer than 2 hours per day seems to be the risk factor. And then frequent moving or lifting or even pushing any weight or loads more than 11 kg. And then manual job that they have to fix, do something manually, also by standing or sitting in an awkward position, or pulling loads. All this can actually cause mechanical low back pain. Apart from that, individuals who have widespread pain, who have existing widespread pain or other musculoskeletal complaints, also seem to be a risk factor for developing mechanical low back pain. Now, other than that, female are very prone to get mechanical low back pain. Although it is not, although it's still common among male, but female seems to be being a female seems to be one of the risk factors. Obesity is one of the risk factors. This is again due to the excessive weight that the body, the spine, the disc are not able to support. So it's actually putting unnecessary stress to the muscle, the ligaments, the disc, as well as the spine. Okay. Other than that, increased driving time. So if you're driving for too long, you're assumed in a sitting position for a long period of time, definitely you can get mechanical back pain. So apart from that, poor posture, like I mentioned, and then poor back endurance. Back endurance means your muscle endurance. Okay, so generally our spine is supported or stabilized by what we call it as core muscles. Core muscles is the front and the back and the side of our body muscles, as in our trunk muscles. So if these muscles are imbalanced, or if they are not strong, they are not they don't have the strength to stabilize the spine during the movements, as in when you're bending and all that, a person can actually get a mechanical back pain. Okay, they can actually injure their back. Okay, other than that, it is also mentioned in studies that poor health and mental distress or depression can actually lead to mechanical low back pain, especially in mental distress, because when one person is stressed, when someone is stressed, it automatically makes their muscle to go into a tensed state. So this can actually cause mechanical back pain, low back pain as well. Okay, moving on to the next one. Okay, so what I would like to share here about is some of the insight about posture. So why is good posture important to prevent or reduce symptoms of low back pain? Okay, so the reason is because in when we adopt a good posture, which I will show later what is actually a good posture is and a bad posture. So when we adopt a good posture, we are actually preserving the natural curves of our spine. If you look at our spine, we have a few curves that I'll also show you. Okay, from our neck all the way to our low back, we have some natural curves, and these curves are important to be preserved. Otherwise, a person can actually develop mechanical low back pain. This also helps to the reason why we need to adapt to a good posture. Again, it is also to ensure that our body weight is evenly distributed. If we tend to lean on one side, okay, it probably lean on one side, and we are probably putting more weight on the side that we're leaning. So the side that we're leaning, as in from the spine up to our hip, our knee, our ankle, will start aching at some point in our life. So it's important that we are always aware of good posture is. Okay, next is it also removes unwanted pressure, stress on bones, joints, ligaments, and muscle discs. Like I mentioned earlier, if the weight is not evenly distributed, we are putting all the structures under stress, and at one point they will start aching. Okay, so here I have an image of good posture and a bad posture. So if you look at the bad posture, okay, you can see here over the neck, from starting from the neck to the lower back. Okay, so this person has a very we call this as a stoop posture. If you look at his neck, okay, it's going towards is like, he's stooping front forward. Okay, this is very common, especially for those who have been using smartphones and always looking towards, I mean, this way. So they can actually develop something called a stoop posture. Okay, so and then you have this here, this excessive curve here, and then if you look at the lower region, okay, you're supposed to have a curve here, and it seems like there is no. So this is a bad posture. Okay, and I know most of us, we find this posture more comfortable to be, especially after a long day, but ideally it is not good. Okay, now this is actually a good posture. If you look at a good posture, you have a curve over here. This is what we call it as a cervical curve. Okay, cervical lordosis, and then here we have the thoracic kyphosis. Okay, and then here we have the lumbar lordosis. So it's like an inner curve and then an outer curve and an inner curve. This is the natural curve of our spine, and this has to be preserved. So therefore, in order for us to preserve this, we have to be aware of our posture all the time. Now, moving on to next slide. Okay, these are some of the pictures that I've included to show what is the good and the bad reading or working posture. I think most of us who are working from home, although working from home is very convenient and comfortable, but sometimes it gets too comfortable that we forget to adapt to a good posture while working. And it is in fact different. If you look at the environment when we are working in our office, we don't continuously sit. We move around, we talk to our colleagues, we go for coffee breaks, we move around our workstation. But when we start working from home, sometimes it gets too comfortable that we won't realize we've been sitting there for a few hours continuously. So that is actually bad for our back. Okay, so if you look at few of this posture here, this is actually a bad posture, and this is also a bad posture, and this is also a bad posture. What is good is, if you look at this picture here, okay, the person is sitting straight and the back is being supported, the normal curvature of the spine is being preserved. And if you look at the hip angle, okay, here is a 90 degrees angle. Sorry. Yeah, so it's a 90 degrees angle here, and both the feet is supported, and it is there is space, and it is being supported. Okay, and if you look at another situation here, you have a person who's using the other thing that I wanted to mention here is, if you look at this person, she's not this picture here, this person is not coming forward to read what's in the book, but in fact it is within her eye level, that she doesn't have to bend down like in the other pictures. Okay, again, if you look at a person here who's working, who's doing a desk job, okay, now this person here is all bad posture. I think most of the time we tend to sit this way because it's very comfortable. Okay, and but all this is actually bad posture. If you look at here again, the spine is supported, the normal curve of the spine is being preserved, the angle is at 90 degrees, feet is supported, and if you look at the computer is within the eye level, so the person doesn't have to stoop or come forward to see what is there in the computer. Okay, now moving on to the next. Okay, so what is the next thing that I would like to share is about is the do's and the don'ts. So if you're having low back pain, there are a few things that you probably want to practice or start practicing after this onwards. And if you don't have low back pain, you can also you can also consider doing this to prevent from getting low back pain. So the first thing is, okay, so these are the lifting do's and don'ts. Okay, so here are the few things that you can actually do, consider doing, and here are the few things that you should not do. Okay, first thing is that if you have to carry something heavy, it can be a box or any sort of load. Okay, you even if it's even like for an example, like myself, a physiotherapist. Okay, even being a physiotherapist, sometimes if you think your patient is heavy, or if you're working in as a manual if you're having a manual job and you're supposed to lift heavy loads, always see if you have someone to help you. All doing things as a team is always better and safer, especially if you're lifting weight. If you can find a person or colleague who can help you or who offers you help, please accept it. Okay, and then the next thing is that when you are lifting your weight, when you're lifting any weight, okay, for an example here, the person is lifting a box. Okay, so always remember that when you're turning, you are supposed to move your legs, as in you're supposed to move 360 degrees by turning your entire body completely, as in completely by moving your legs rather than twisting your back. Okay, so this is bad. Now, carrying the weight and twisting your back puts a lot of pressure on your spine, especially on your lower back. So this can actually cause um, low back pain. Okay, the next thing is that when you're lifting something from the ground, always remember that you are supposed to bend your knees, squat, lift the weight, and keep it closer to your chest, and then you stand up by pressing on your legs, as in by putting pressure on your legs, and then you try to stand up. Do not attempt to lift weight this way. Okay, now this is very, very bad for the back, and this is how most of the people snap their back all of a sudden. Okay, so even if you're carrying weight, or even if you're carrying your baby from the floor, always remember that you squat, or you squat and you go in this position. Okay, bend your knees, squat all the way down, keep your baby, or keep the box towards your chest, and then you raise up by pressing on your legs. Okay, next, if there is any equipment to lift weight, okay, please use it. Okay, so you don't have to carry the loads if there is an equipment available to carry the loads. Okay, this is how you can actually prevent and protect your back. Okay, moving on to the next slide. Okay, these are some of the do's and don'ts again. Okay, if you look at here, um, if here, these are some of the manual jobs that some people, when they're supposed to fix or assemble things in standing position for a long period of time, you can always put a foot rest to relieve a sway back. If you look at this picture, can you see the curvature on the lumbar is exaggerated, as in on the lower back is exaggerated? Here it is not so exaggerated because this person has as in lift his leg and put it on a stool. So this, if you have to stand for a long period of time and work in this position, you can consider doing this way. Okay, again, this is something to do with the weight. You're not supposed to lift up like bending your trunk forward, but you're always supposed to squat and come down. Now, next is when you're lifting weight, always ensure that you're keeping the weight towards your chest, closer to your body, not further. Okay, so this, by doing this, you can further increase the sway back as well as injure your back. And then here, if you're supposed to bend down and do some work, okay, always remember to as in if you're supposed to bend your upper body and do some work, always remember to bend your knees slightly, okay, keeping your knees extended as in straight like this, and also your upper body bent like this puts a lot of pressure on your low back. So these are some of the tips that you can actually start practicing in your activity of daily living. Okay, now these are some of the sleeping posture that I'd like to share. Okay, so here we have incorrect sleeping posture and here we have correct posture of sleeping. Okay, so avoid lying flat without any support of pillow. Okay, because when you lie flat on the back, it makes your sway back worse. If you look at the curvature here, it's exaggerated. Okay, because there is no support. So if you wish to lie flat, always remember to put a pillow under the knees. Okay, so this will keep the back flat instead of causing an excessive curvature here. Okay, so the other way to sleep is that you can sleep sideways. Okay, but ensure to put a pillow in between your legs. Okay, I will show a clearer picture later, maybe you can look at it. So and if try to avoid sleeping face down, but if you are comfortable sleeping facing down, always remember to put a pillow under your waist and also another pillow under your leg. Okay, so this again will prevent putting a lot of pressure on your low back. Okay, and the other way is that bending one hip and knee does not really save. So most of us, I think, we sleep this way because it's very comfortable, but this is actually not a good position or posture to sleep. Okay, and then always ensure that you have make proper arrangement of the pillow for to rest while you're reading on bed and so on. Okay, I'll show another clearer picture maybe. So if you look at this side lying position, okay, and this person here who's lying down, okay, so if you see the difference between not having pillow in between the legs and having a pillow in between the leg. Okay, so what happens is when you don't put a pillow in between your leg, your hip here comes inwards, and this actually over time at night without realizing you will tend to turn turn towards as in turn forward, and then you may probably twist your spine over here. So this is bad. By putting a pillow under your knee, you there's less likely that you'll come forward, and also you can maintain the alignment of your pelvis while you're sleeping. For an example here, okay, if you're not putting a pillow, your hip goes as in your thigh goes downwards like this, so the alignment will not be straight if you look from the back. Okay, but if you put a pillow, there is a distance between both of your thigh, then this will be preserved, as in this will be a straight alignment, so less likely you will roll forward over the night and twist your spine. Okay, now these are some of the pillow positions that you can actually consider practice while sleeping. Ensure that your pillow is not too high. If you look at this picture, this is too high. And if you see what happens inside in the spine, okay, that your spine is not maintained straight. But if you look at this picture, okay, the pillow is just nice. It is not too high, it's not too low. So the spine is actually straight when the person is lying sideways. Okay, and what happens if the pillow is too low? Again, the spine is not straight, the alignment of the spine is not straight. So by doing this two, by practicing these two habit, you probably will realize that when you get up that next morning, you start having pain on your neck and your upper back. Okay, so this is another picture of how another picture of why I've mentioned that it's important to put the pillow, as in keep the pillow height appropriate. Okay, because if you look at this person, there's no pillow, so the alignment has gone this way. Okay, and here when there is a pillow which is in the same level of her, of her neck, so the alignment here is straight. So this is good and this is bad. Again, completely no pillow is bad, but if you don't want pillow on your head, you can always put a roll of towel on your neck. Again, this is good. Okay, moving on to next. Okay, so here now I would like to talk a little bit on ergonomics. So what is ergonomics and why is it so important? And what are micro and macro breaks at work? Okay, so ergonomic is actually the science of fitting your workstation or your work environment to the employer's to the employee's need. Okay, so if you are if you have a job where you are required to sustain in an awkward position for a long period of time, or even if you're in a job, let's say you're doing a desk job and you're always working in front of your computer for a long period of time, you must ensure that the setup of your workstation is appropriate so you do not get any sort of musculoskeletal discomfort. Okay, and why is it important? Okay, first thing is that if you are working in an awkward position or in a sustained position for a long period of time, this that you're definitely going to get some pain and musculoskeletal discomfort. So what happens when somebody gets musculoskeletal discomfort? They will not be able to focus in their work, the productivity will decrease, and also the job satisfaction will start decreasing as well. So this is why it is important that we maintain this so we are happy at work and we can also work 100%. Next, what is micro and macro breaks? Micro and macro breaks are, micro refers to small breaks that you take in between half an hour of sitting. Usually it is less than 2 minutes. So always remember that if you're sitting and working in front of your computer for a long period of time, or let's say for half an hour you've been staring at your computer without moving much, always remember to take 2 minutes time to stretch your necks. Okay, and then probably stand up, walk around your workstation, probably speak to your colleague, and then stretch your legs. Okay, stand up, stretch your legs, and then you get back to your work. So this is very important because you want to avoid sustained pressure, sustained position. Sustained posture is the one that is putting a lot of stress to the muscles and the tendons, ligaments, and also the spine. Okay, macro breaks refers to a bit longer break, more than 2 minutes, probably 10 minutes. So this kind of breaks you can probably take every 2 hours or 3 hours of working continuously. So it's important that you get up again, perform some gentle stretches of your neck, okay, and stretch your legs, walk around your station, probably make some drink and have a coffee, speak to your colleague, and then you can get back to your work. So these are important things. Sometimes while working, we tend to forget these small issues that will probably contribute to a bigger problem later. Okay, so I'll move on to the next slide. So these are one of the example of workstation setup for desktop. Okay, so since most of us are working from home, I believe we are working at our own comfort zone. Okay, so some of us are probably working, using your laptop on the sofa or on the bed, So it's important that we take care of our posture while we are working. Okay, so here is one example of how you are not supposed to work, and here's one example of how you're supposed to sit and work. Okay, so always remember that your neck, shoulder, and lower back has to be supported, as in it has to be especially your shoulder and lower back has to be supported against the chair. Okay, and then here if you look, the back, the shoulder and the back is supported against the chair. Okay, and then the screen is in the same level of the eye. Okay, always keep your screen a little bit high. If you think your computer is very low, you can always put a block of book here and probably bring it a little higher so it is within the same level of your eye. And then always ensure that your feet is supported on the ground, and that there is arm rest on your chair, that you can keep your arm rested, and also your wrist resting here, and then you are doing your work. Okay, never do your work in this manner, because after some time you will start developing aches around your body. Okay, next. Now, why is exercise very important in low back pain? So most of the time when you say when you see someone or when you tell someone that you're having low back pain, and then they'll always try to relate it with, how doing exercise will actually help low back pain. Yes, it does help with low back pain. And why is it important is because first thing is that the exercises that we're doing, it helps to stabilize the spine, especially when we are working around the core muscles, keeping our core muscles strong. This helps to support the spine and keep the spine stabilized. Okay, so when we are doing any sort of movements, okay, by keeping our spine in a very stable manner, as in stabilizing our spine, and then we are doing the work, less likely we will injure our back. But so yeah, so that's why it's important. Second thing is flexibility. In order for us to move, we need some sort of flexibility. By doing exercises such as stretching and mobility exercises helps to improve the flexibility, which eventually helps us or enable us to move more freely, okay, without having the risk of injuring our muscles. Next, it also improves the strength, like I mentioned earlier. In order to keep our in order to prevent low back pain, we have to always ensure that our core muscles are very strong. And whenever we are lifting weight and doing bending forward and all that, it's important that our core muscles are working and they're activated to keep our spine straight. Okay, next is posture. Okay, some of the exercises which I'll be showing later will also help to improve your posture overall. So if you think you've been adapting a poor posture over the over this few months or years, and probably that is why you're having low back pain, you can probably start working on your posture correction exercises. Now, apart from that, by keeping the strength of your core muscles, and keeping the flexibility in your muscles also reduces the pain. Okay, it prevents injury, like I mentioned. If you have a strong muscle that supports your weight, that supports the load that you're lifting and the work that you're doing, you can actually prevent injuries. Okay, and also because exercises helps with general well-being. Okay, now moving on to the next slide. Okay, so how do we manage our how do you manage your low back pain? Now, we have few sets of exercises that we have to focus on. Okay, one is to strengthen. Okay, strengthen is to make our muscles strong. Now, then we have stretching. Stretching is to make our muscles more flexible so we can move freely, okay, within the permitted range. And then we also manage our low back pain by adapting or doing some posture exercises that enables us to keep our posture straight. Okay, finally, we can also do some pain relief therapy at home. You may not need to see a physiotherapist or visit a physiotherapy clinic all the time. Some of the pain relief technique can be performed by yourself at home, okay, which I will share again later. Okay, now moving on to the exercises. So these are some of the exercises that I wish to share. Okay, so if you look at the first exercise here, okay, this is actually these are some of the core muscle exercise that you can consider doing. Okay, the first exercise here is a quadruped arm or leg raise. So this may be a little bit challenging for the beginners. Actually, most of the exercises that I'll be sharing today is for beginners. But if you find some of the exercises difficult for you to do at home, you can probably do some modification, which I'll also suggest here. So the first exercise here is actually a quadruped arm or arm and leg raise. So initially you start with the leg only, as in you come in this position, okay, and put both your arms down, as in put both your hands down, okay, and just lift one leg up straight. Okay, and ensure this leg is straight and the knees are not bent, and you're maintaining your body in the center without much sway. Next, if you're able to do this position, I mean, if you're able to sustain your leg without much sway, without much difficulty, you can progress it to this position, exactly what's shown here, lifting up or, keeping your leg straight, and then the opposite side arm straight. So always remember it's contra lateral, as in the arm over this side and the leg over the other side. The next exercise, this is a very common exercise. This is called a bridging exercise. Again, pelvic bridging is very easy for the beginners. Okay, but however, if you have very poor strength, you may find it a little bit difficult, but it is one of the most basic exercise that we give for core muscle strengthening exercise. Okay, so pelvic bridging, you can start by this position. Okay, you can go into this position and lift up your buttock and keep your body straight. Okay, in this manner. Okay, if you find it difficult to contract your abdominal and sustain in this position for a long time, you can consider squeezing your buttocks and contracting your buttocks to maintain in this position. So if you have if you are able to achieve this position and sustain for some time, then you can progress it with a single leg bridge. Okay, a single leg bridge is the similar manner, but however, here you have both your legs supporting, legs supporting on the ground, and here you only have one leg. So the other leg is, is raised straight, okay, without bending the knee. Now, these exercises can be performed for 15 times and 3 reps. Okay, so in the beginning you can start by holding between 10 to 15 seconds. If you have progressed, then you can probably increase the holding seconds up to even 20 seconds. Okay, so it's important that when you're doing this 3 sets of exercise, 3 sets of each exercise, you don't take a very long break in between. For example, if you have done first set, make sure that your break for the next session is about a minute or few seconds. Otherwise, you're not allowing the muscle, you're not giving the muscle time to contract and probably strengthen. Okay, we'll move on to the next one. Okay, this is also some sort of core muscle exercise. We call this pelvic tilt and cat and camel. So this exercise also addresses the deep abdominal muscles. Okay, the transverse abdominis muscle. Okay, so this is in lying position. If you look at it, this person here is doing an anterior tilt and a posterior tilt. When you do an anterior tilt, you push your pelvic forward, as in you rotate, not push, sorry, you rotate your pelvis forward and you sustain in that position again for about 10 to 15 seconds, and you can do it in 3 sets. Okay, and then you rotate it backwards, keeping your back flat here without gap, and again you maintain in that same position. Okay, and then you have this cat and camel exercise. Cat and camel exercise is similar to the pelvic tilt, but here you are also as much as you're strengthening your your abdominal muscle, you're also stretching your back muscle. So this exercise can be done also for the by sustaining it for 10 to 15 seconds, and you can do it about 3 sets. Okay, and moving on to the next one. Okay, these are some of the core muscle exercises as well. Okay, this is a dead bug exercise where you start in this position and you alternately lift your arm and the opposite leg and then change leg. Okay, this one you not necessarily you have to hold. You can just continuously do it alternatively for about 50 to 20 reps. Okay, again in 3 sets. Now, this one is a Swiss ball rotation. This one helps, as much as it also helps to strengthen the abdominal muscle, it also helps to stretch the trunk rotators. Okay, so this one also you may not need to hold. If you want to hold, you can still hold, but yeah, you can do it in a repetition of 15 to 20 reps in 3 sets. Okay, and then you have the stretching exercises. Okay, this okay, so for stretching exercises, generally we have something called a sustained stretching, and we also have as intermittent stretching. So intermittent stretching, we can hold it for a lesser count. There's, as in like of maybe for about 10 seconds, and then we have a more number of repetitions. But if it's a sustained stretch, we can actually sustain the stretch for up to 60 counts, and then probably do it about 2 to 4 reps only. Okay, so this is a supine figure of 4 stretch. It helps to stretch your buttock muscles here, and also your piriformis as well as your gluteus muscles here. Okay, and this is knee to chest stretch. Okay, this helps to stretch your back, and then also your lower back here. And then this is a child pose stretch. Okay, you can consider doing this exercise if you have pain, especially on the upper back. Okay, so this one, you're supposed to bend your knees and ensure that your stomach is in between both your knees. Okay, here you are actually stretching your ankle as well as your, you know, your hamstring and also your back. So this is in fact a good position to stretch your muscles. I mean, aim for few muscles at the same time. And then you have the supine twist stretch. This one helps to stretch your trunk rotators over here. Okay, so this also can be done in a sustained manner or an intermittent manner. And then we have the quadratus lumborum stretch in sitting. This one aims to stretch the muscle over here. Okay, and then you have the supine hamstring stretch, and this one helps to stretch the muscles over here. Okay, now all these stretches are okay, so we still have this two stretching. Okay, now this stretching you have to be first, I would suggest that if you're doing a prone extension stretch, always start with in this position and keep your elbow rested on the ground. Okay, if you do not have any pain or symptoms on your back, then you can proceed to straighten your elbow and further stretch your muscles. Okay, and again, this is a seated piriformis stretch. This one you can always do it in your workplace as well. When you're sitting, you know, try to put your leg across on the other leg, and then without bending your spine, as in without bending forward, keep your spine straight and just lean forward. So this is the technique to stretch, and you can actually feel the stretch on the back of the leg that is being bent. Okay, and these are some of the posture exercises that I'd like to share. Okay, this is in fact very important. This is a shoulder blade squeeze, so you can always sit and then try to squeeze your shoulder and keep it in that position for probably 15 to 20 counts, and then release it. And you can do this about 15 to 20 reps again for 3 sets. Okay, if you have progressed and you don't feel tired and you don't feel this is challenging, you can always add a resistive band. Okay, you can even use a dumbbell if you don't have a resistive band. Okay, you can pull the resistive band and squeeze your shoulder blade again and hold it for um, 15 to 20 sorry 10 to 15 counts. Okay, but remember, when you're doing this exercise, it's important that you tuck your chin in. Okay, you squeeze your shoulder blade, and also you tighten your abdominal muscles at the same time while breathing in and out normally. Okay, this will help to correct the posture as in whole, not only focusing on the lower spine but as well as your cervical spine. Okay, now the few last thing that I'd like to share is about the lumbar support belt. So many people have question on whether this lumbar support belt, when is it necessary and how does it work and how long can I wear it? Okay, so when is it necessary? If you have an acute injury, okay, you're not able to move much and you have a lot of pain while bending, even while walking you have pain. Okay, you can consider wearing a lumbar support belt. It does help. How it helps is that it prevents further movement. It keeps your spine stabilized at the center, and it doesn't allow much movement on your spine, so it protects your spine. And how long can you wear it? You can wear it about depends on the severity of your injury, probably somewhere between 2 to 3 weeks. But eventually you have to learn how to wean off. Even though it is comfortable and it reduces your pain, yeah, at one point you have to wean off from this lumbar support belt, because what happens to your core muscles, your core muscle starts adapting to the lumbar support belt, and it eventually will go into weakness. So it gets very comfortable and accommodated by the lumbar support belt, that it stops as in not stop it, it doesn't work when it is supposed to, as in it doesn't activate its muscles and so on. So you are basically promoting weakness of your core muscles by wearing it for a long period of time. Okay, so these are some of the pain relief techniques that you can do it in at home, such as applying ice, heat, and you rest or reduce the exposure to risk factors. Suppose if you think bending is the one that's actually causing you problem, so you rest well until you heal from or recover from your pain, and then you may probably look into doing some exercises. Or always remember, when you're lifting weight from the ground or bending forward, keep your abdominal muscle, keep your stomach tucked in, as in tighten your abdominal muscle and do that activity. Okay, you can also consider massage, superficial massage, and also consider reducing weight, because reducing weight gives a lot of effect in reducing the effects of low back pain. Okay, these are some of the take-home advices. Okay, so always remember to stay active, and if you are under stress, ensure that you are going through stress management. You can consider yoga or doing your, doing some leisure activities. Improve general health. Okay, and pay attention to mental health. If you think you are depressed or you have some mental distress issues, try to find a way to solve it. Sleep well is important. Reduce your weight. Eat right. Lifestyle modification. If you're smoking, you may probably want to consider to follow a healthy lifestyle. Practice good posture all the time. Keep reminding yourself. Exercise. Footwear. If you like wearing high heels, it's no harm, you can wear, but always remember that high heels can actually change the way we stand, as in, I mean, change our posture and puts a lot of pressure on our back, low back. So if you are having low back pain, avoid high heels. And if you want to wear high heels, probably reduce the time that you're supposed reduce your time of wearing high heels. Okay, and then accept help whenever there is help, or whenever somebody is offering you help, please accept it. Try not to do everything on your own, such as, again, like lifting weight and so on. Most importantly, stay happy and laugh often. So I think we have come to the end of session. Thank you for your patience, and thank you for participating in this webinar. So let me look if there is any Q&A session. I will okay, so yeah, I will try to answer the questions that been asked here. So yes, instead of using pillow, you can use bolster. Okay, you can use bolster. Ensure that like I mentioned, the alignment of your pelvic is straight. Okay, as long as you're not rotating or rolling forward towards the night. Okay, is the plank a good core muscle exercise? Yes, plank is a good core muscle exercise. However, I did not include here is because not everyone can maintain a plank position. So some of the exercise, I mean, all the exercises that I've mentioned here is the beginner exercise. But if you can do plank, why not? Yes. Is it okay if I always twist my back purposely? Okay, stretching. Right, stretching is okay, but remember, if you are stretching your back, it has to be free weight. That means you're not carrying something and stretching. Now that can actually hurt your back. If you're stretching your back, as in doing this kind of stretch, this is good. Okay, and why, when early period time or within the period, girls feel the back pain? Okay, this is something to do with the contraction that happens in the uterus. That is why and the contraction that happens in the uterus is so strong that sometimes it radiates towards the back, that you feel the back is actually aching. Okay, but however, you can apply heat if that helps, and also probably engage in some exercises. For pelvic bridging, isn't the neck not in a proper posture? I did not see, but for pelvic bridging, you can keep pillow, or you can remove the pillow. It's not a problem. You can do both ways, but ensure that your pillow is not too high, whereby your trunk is actually curved, as in your trunk is actually flexed forward. Okay, I'm having S-shaped scoliosis. Is there any treatment that I can go through? Okay, it really depends on the degree of your scoliosis. There are a lot of approaches these days to treat scoliosis. If it's very minor, as in if it's not a very obvious curve, you can always see a physiotherapist, get yourself assessed and do exercises. Stretching exercises helps a lot. I believe with scoliosis, you also get a lot of muscle spasm on your paraspinal muscles. So a little bit of massage and soft tissue release will be helpful for you. If I suffer pain while doing prone extension, stretch on back pain, sorry, 1 second. If I suffer pain while doing prone extension, stretch on elbow, so is it not advisable to continue to do prone press up? Yes. Okay, if you have pain doing prone extension, you probably want to get yourself checked. Sometimes if you have some disc problem, and assuming in this position, as in if you have some problem with the intervertebral disc and you're assuming in this position, it will actually cause pain. So get yourself assessed, and yes, it is not advisable if you have pain. Kala here, my mother is having knee pain. She couldn't sit down and do the exercises for her low back pain. What else can she do rather than doing exercises? Okay, if she's having knee pain, she can consider doing aquatic exercise. I'm not sure if you're familiar with this, but you can Google it up. For those who are having knee pain and who are obese and who have back pain and all that, you can consider doing aquatic exercise. It really helps. Apart from that, she can do cycling, but yeah, do cycling if she doesn't want to bear weight, and she can do exercises that requires her to sit, as in she can even do her abdominal exercise, as in abdominal contraction while she's sitting down, so it's not a problem. Yeah, so is headrest on a chair is headrest on a chair is important? It is not important, but backrest is very important. As long as you're resting your back, yes. Headrest may not necessarily important, because the moment you lean your back towards the chair, you're automatically keeping your head back. Okay, unless you're coming forward this way, then it is not good. How to choose the firmness of the pillow? Okay, the firmness of pillow should not be that when you lie down your head literally sinks in, or when you lie down it is too hard. It should be just medium. Okay, if you have a medium, your head sinks a little bit in, but it preserves the alignment, so that is important. Even regarding mattress, you can also choose mattress that when you lie down, it should not sink. Ideally it should be comfortable, but it is also not so firm or not very hard. How to choose a proper pillow? Is there any guideline? Okay, I think I just discussed that. Okay, about pillow brands, I wouldn't recommend it because I have no knowledge on it. But how many pillows needed again depends on the height of your pillow. Usually, if the height is normal, one pillow is enough. If you have really bad problem with your neck and all that, you can consider memory foam pillows. That really helps because it also comes along with the natural curvature of your cervical spine. Is golf bad for low back pain? My husband said because of the walking, it is still good exercise. Okay, golf bad for low back pain. Again, I wouldn't say it is bad for, if he's already having low back pain, I may probably want to decide on reducing the intense or the frequency of, because it involves twisting and swinging. Unless if he has a good core muscle control, then that's fine. Okay, I have 2 more minutes to answer questions. When I was about 7 to 8 years old, I fell down due to slippery floor. For 10 minutes, I can't move and talk, but I can see and hear, and fasted 10 minutes. I was able to move. May I know what happened in that 10 minutes? Okay, I'm so sorry, but I really have no idea what would have happened there. Okay, with low back pain already, is it okay to do plank exercise? Okay, depends on what low back pain that you are having. Like I say, if it's a mechanical low back pain, it is not a problem. But if you're having something to do with disc or ruptured disc, you probably want to reduce exercises that increases your abdominal pressure, because that will further put pressure on your spine and as well as your disc. So if you don't show any signs of disc rupture or neurological symptoms, then that's fine. If you suspect it's a localized pain. What if I don't use pillow to sleep? Is that bad for my back? Ideally, yes, it is. You can probably consider putting a roll of towel just under your neck. You don't have to support your head. Can massage relieve pain effectively? Massage can relieve pain effectively, but usually it is a temporary relief. If you have a chronic low back pain, it is usually recurrent. So looking for a permanent solution is always ideal. Which one is better to avoid back pain, walking or cycling? Um, which one is avoid? I would say neither is. If you have back pain and you think walking or cycling is, you probably want to assess to see which one is actually provoking your pain. But I would say that if you are having back pain, you probably want to, depends on the position of the cycle, but probably want to take a slow walk first. And I'm uncomfortable sitting with right posture due to curved spine. Should I continue to keep the right posture? Okay, I need to know, you're talking about curved spine. If it's a scoliosis, should I continue? No, ideally you're not, because you're causing you're putting weight on one side more. That's also not advisable, and you are actually stressing one side and you're making the other side weak. So it's important that you keep a good posture. If you're sitting and you feel like your curve is there and you're leaning towards one side, you can always consider having armrest and try to balance the weight of your body. Which category does this fall into? Footwear or seat chair for a person having low back pain? Okay, footwear, I would say that you can consider wearing shoes that have good arch support, okay, and that is also good in terms of absorbing shock. I would suggest something that has a memory foam inside with good arch support. Okay, avoid wearing high heels, avoid wearing very firm sole of foot, firm shoes that has very hard soles. And if you are okay, I would suggest that sport shoes are always the best, okay, to take care of your back. And seat or chair having low back pain, you can consider having a chair that has again the back in low back curve. Or if you don't have a chair like that, you can always buy the backrest and put it on your chair and then lean on it. Okay, I think okay, so it's 11 o'clock, so I would say I would probably stop here. Thank you for attending, and I hope this webinar gave you a lot of inputs and tips to take care of your back pain. If you have any further questions, you can always email me personally, and I will try my best to return to your email. Thank you so much.